Hey everyone, I'm Sarah and tonight is a drawing stream. We're going to be doing a landscape, a rowboat on a lake, and that's the theme for this week. So tomorrow we're also going to be doing a rowboat, even though it will be in watercolor. I like to stick to, a theme, whatever. So hopefully everybody's had a great week, and I'm going to go over the supplies really quick and then we'll get started. So first I've got my art set, which for me is 2B, 4B, and 6B graphite pencils, as well as charcoal sepia tones, which is why I like this set. And that's the kind of brownish color, the reddish brownish color. And this has lead as well, an eraser, and most importantly, a spreader. So sometimes called a smudge stick. And you can actually, if you don't have one of these, you can take a wadded up piece of paper or a paper towel, or you can use your finger, anything like that, that just spreads around the pencil. Now, I always advertise that you can use a number 2 pencil, and that's really important because I want drawing to be accessible to anyone. So you absolutely can use a number 2 pencil, and I'll talk about what you need to do as we go through. When I'm doing maybe using a darker pencil, then I'll tell you what to do if you're using a number 2. Okay, I like to also use a different eraser than the kneaded eraser. The kneaded eraser that comes with this is pretty nice because you can get like tiny points, and we will be using this, so I can get it to be like a little point like that. But sometimes it doesn't always erase very well, so I like to use like a big old rubber eraser. Those are pretty handy. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to be doing tonight. Now, normally I head over to Discord and I show you the reference drawing in Discord. So if you look right here, I've got my Discord server. There's also a button somewhere below here, below my video, that takes you directly to Discord, and there is always the reference photo, which is basically the drawing that I'm going off of to teach the class. So I highly encourage you to go out and look at that, because it's good. Even though you're following my instructions, it's good to have like the final photo of what it's going to look like, or the final drawing. However, I have taught this class before, so I'm going to show you. So here is what we're drawing. And I actually have taught this class multiple times. So here's another one. And you can actually see like the boat is in a little bit different place and looks a little different. It's going to look different every time, right? Like I maybe paid a little less attention to the little cattails than I did in this one, So it's different every time. I think my trees look a lot more uniform in this one. So here's the thing. This is what we're drawing. You can see it in Discord. I've got 9 by 12 paper, and I think we should get started. So let's go. Okay, first things first, we're going to actually be using the, I'm going to use a 2B pencil. And of course you can use your number 2 if that's what you're working with. And you can also, I've got a drawing pad, but you can also use just like regular computer paper, printer paper, something like that. Okay, so first things first, we're going to draw a horizon line. Now, I don't like drawing my horizon line directly in the middle. It doesn't have to be far off from the middle, but if you do it directly in the middle, which is, let's see, on here, about right here, it's a little boring, to be honest. So what I try to do is figure out what's the most important part of my picture. And in this particular thing, if you look, the stuff going on in the background isn't really all that interesting. The stuff going on in the foreground is more interesting. This is what our focus is. So that means that our foreground is going to be the most interesting part. Meaning that we're going to move our horizon line up just slightly, so that the most interesting part gets the biggest area. So that's what you want to think about. Now, when you're drawing a straight line, instead of moving your wrist, you want to move your entire arm. Okay? So I'm going to start just a little bit above the middle line, so just to show you. So here was my middle line here. I'm only starting maybe a centimeter up. It's not very far. But just enough to make the viewer wonder. Like it is noticeable. You know, the viewer will be able to tell that there's a little bit more space at the bottom than there is at the top. So, okay. Now we're going to do our hills or mountains in the background. First, I'm going to start with just a wavy line. I'm going to go and just do some gently rolling hills. Like that. Then I'm going to do some in between. Now these aren't going to be just as gently rolling. I'm just filling in the sections. So this one maybe. Now I'm going to come back and I would like to make these a little more jagged. But I'm following the lines that I did before. But this time I'm just making them less rolling and more, this one can be a little rolling there. More linear. Okay. This linear is probably not really the right word. What would be the right word here? I don't know. I don't know. Lines with points rather than rounded edges. That's what it is. I don't know what that's called actually. I'm sure there is a word for it. I'm terrible with names. So always remember, blow, don't wipe. That is important because you don't want to smear your drawing. Okay? So, there we go. Now we've got some unevenness. Now I'm going to take, in the background, I'm going to go ahead and very lightly, actually I don't even want these to come up this high. I feel like that's too high. We're gonna bring that down just a little bit. This one I think I'm okay with. Yeah. Oh, I'm blowing my number 2 pencil kind of all over the place. Let's try that again. There we go. Let's make them just a little bit lower. So I'm just going to fill this in very lightly, all going the same direction. We're going to use our spreader here in a little bit, or like I said, you can ball up a piece of paper or use your finger. The nice thing about a spreader, and they are pretty inexpensive, you can actually get, like Walmart sells them in I think a 2-pack for like a buck or $2. It's not terribly expensive. The nice thing about it is because it's got a point on it, all it is rolled up newsprint, which is a type of very thin paper. This is, now you can see mine's already dirty, but it's great because you can get into points, so you can get into very narrow areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in, and all it's doing is moving the pencil around into the white spaces that didn't catch with the pencil, because you know the pencil doesn't catch everywhere. So this is just filling that in. Now if you are using a set like this where you're going to be using colored pencil at some point, and we do, like in fact last week we did koi fish that used colored pencil. I would highly recommend that if you do have a spreader, save one side for your colors and do one side for your black. And that just keeps it from getting black all inside like your colors. Okay. So we've got that. Now what we're going to do is, let's see, I'm going to actually use my 4B pencil. If you're using a number 2 pencil, then just press just a little bit harder. So I'm going to outline this. And I'm going to go ahead, even though I made these a little more severe, I'm going to just round the top. So all I'm doing is, instead of coming to a point, I'm just allowing my pencil to just curve right over the top of that. Okay. Now I have a 4B graphite stick, so I could use that. I'm not going to, because I want you guys to see what it's like to use a pencil. So I'm going to start shading in at the top, and I'm going to apply a decent, maybe medium pressure. What we're going to do is we're going to create a gradient. Now don't press too hard right away, because you can layer. You can actually go in and put a second layer of pencil and it will make it darker. Similar to the spreader. You're just catching more of those white areas. So I'm just following. Now here, I'm going to do something. I'm going to actually come down like that. So this makes it look like two, and in fact right here would be another one that I didn't catch. Maybe there. Anyway, okay, keep going. We'll keep moving. Hopefully everybody's having a good night so far. It's Friday, and in some places, I think, different types of businesses are being lifted. So, some people might be out, probably getting haircuts, if I had to guess. Great for my brother-in-law. He's a barber. So, I don't know if he's back. I haven't asked. I have not found out if he's gone back, but okay. So now we've got this. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to go in slightly lighter below. So again, we're creating a gradient. So I'm just going to go straight across. I'm not going to do anything fancy. Again, close to medium pressure, but I'm allowing it to be just slightly lighter. And as I get closer to the dark areas, I might go down on my pressure just a little bit, just so that it blends a little bit. Now we're going to continue blending even more with either our blending stump or with your finger. Excuse me. All right. All right, and then next, same thing, but slightly lighter. Now you'll notice this is laying down a pretty decent amount. Your number 2 isn't probably going to do as much until you get a nice good side going. What I mean is, like, if you hold it at an angle rather than straight up and down, you're going to start to get one side that will be longer than the other. And once that happens, like, it'll be angled. Once that happens, then it's going to be it's going to spread a lot more. But until that point, number 2 pencils usually require a little bit of finickiness. Like, you have to kind of go back and forth. All right, and one more light layer. I'm barely pushing anything down on the pencil at this point. Very light. Okay. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to come in and just do another little layer of darkness right at the top. This is going to give it a little bit of a stylized look versus more of a natural landscape, but it's still going to look pretty cool. I promise. It's going to look pretty cool. But I'm just doing this right at the top. Like I'm not coming too far down into the mountain area. Now remember, this one had it came down on its own. Wherever you have little valleys, which is basically like where it comes down, you can just do like a slightly darker area if you want to. Like that, and like that. And that's just going to give it a little bit more of kind of a natural look. There's a little valley there. A little valley there. You don't have to do much. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use our spreader or your finger or a balled up piece of paper. Whatever suits you, whatever you feel works best. And we're just going to come in and blend everything. I'm not paying too much attention to direction, but I'm trying to generally stay, going horizontal, since that's how I started. That gives it like a longer landscape feel. Apologize for the sniffy. That sneeze earlier did a little number on my nose. All right. So we're almost done with this. Filling everything in. This is very meditative to me. So this is like the best part of drawing, in my opinion. Is like when you're just filling things in. I don't know, there's something about it that's very meditative. Excuse me. Alright, I'm going to have to take care of this. One moment. To get a Kleenex. It's going to continue to bother me. So, all right. So notice that we have this gradient here. Now, there's a couple areas I'm looking, and there's a couple areas that maybe need to be blended a little bit more. But I wouldn't worry too much about it because there's going to be stuff going on in the front, and that gives it kind of a rocky look, right? It looks a little jagged. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to use 6B pencil again. You can continue to use your number 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a tree line. So first I'm just going to start doing little circular motions, and you can kind of go a little bit more severe angle, like where it's a little closer to straight up and down. And I'm just doing little circles. I'll hold this up so you can see. Like squiggles, like you would have probably drawn trees when you were maybe a little kid, right? Like you're just little loop-de-loops. And I'm doing all different levels. I don't want everything to be the same level. That's one of the things that beginning artists, when you're first learning to draw, that's one of the mistakes that I commonly see, is that people will do like all of their trees the same height. And, realistically, if you thought about it, you would say, okay, well, in nature, not everything's the same height, right? But it's just something, there's like a block in our brain when you're first doing something, like you want to make everything even. And so it's just something I noticed. Proportions and making everything the same height are like the two biggest areas that need work usually with beginner artists. And that's fine. I mean, it's kind of good that it's a trend, because that means if you do it, nothing wrong with it, perfectly normal, you know? All right. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. All right. Now, I'm going to come maybe a little bit farther down, and I'm going to do slightly bigger circles. Again, still doing the circles, and I'm not going to come all the way down. I want to leave some area down here. I'm going to press down differently in different areas, which is going to make it slightly darker. And that's going to make it look like some trees are in front of other trees. And don't do every other one. We love patterns, and so, you know, it's not really possible for a human to be random. And I think that's part of why we make our trees the same height when we start out, is because it's hard to force yourself to try to be random. And even me, and I've been doing this for, 30 plus years, I'm still not completely random. I mean, it's not possible. The best way for me to be random is to not think about it, like to not put any effort into it whatsoever. Just not even look at it, maybe. Just kind of look away and just let your hand just do something. All right, so remember to alternate your pressure to where, some trees are seemingly forward than other trees. They're not afraid to ask you out on a date. While other trees, sit along the wall and watch everybody else do stuff. All right, so we're almost done. Again, this can be very meditative. Now, the fact that I'm talking to you right now is maybe not so meditative. But if you're doing this on your own at home, I highly encourage you to just kind of let yourself go, not think about it too much. Okay, we are going to do another, like below this line, we're going to do kind of a bumpy something or other, just like, but whatever, just like a bumpy line going all the way across. This is probably about 1 centimeter up from our horizon line. Of course, it's going to change in depth, because I'm making it bumpy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do some lines in the trees. So what I'm going to do is I draw the negative space. Negative space is basically the black in the background. So what's going to happen, I'm going to draw the negative space, and I'm going to make my negatives, I'm making stripes, and I'm going to make my white stripes and my black stripes all different. Some are going to be thick, some are going to be thin, all different. Like that. Some are going to be short, some are going to be tall. I'm going to do like kind of a wide black mark here. Another wide black mark. What that does is it makes it look like there's trees that are kind of farther apart. Try not to fall into a pattern. I know that's difficult, but you know, try to be as random as possible. You know, don't get it going where there's like every other one. This is pretty meditative, so you know, if I'm quiet, I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of meditation without having to listen to the sound of my voice. It's too bad I don't have any music going. I guess I could. I'm going to hold this up real quick and just show you what I'm doing so you can see. So see, I'm making basically little black rectangles, but what it ends up doing is it makes it look like there's trees in the background. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. You can actually even alternate like how dark your black box is. You know, so maybe sometimes it's like a little lighter than others. I do actually have some meditation music. I don't have it turned on, but I could import it really quick. Because I actually teach meditation streams too. I do guided meditations on Tuesday evenings at 9 p.m. Pacific. And I do restorative yoga, which has been coined lazy yoga. I like it, so I use that term. The point is not to do any real exertion. That's why it's called lazy yoga. Again, that's not the official term. It's just something a buddy of mine came up with and I liked it, so I took it. I asked him first. Getting close. Okay. So I'm done with that area. So what I'm going to do is I'd like to lay in some darker areas right above. And I'm just gonna come in certain areas. I'm not being picky or choosing anything specific. I am doing just the left side of things. We have to determine where our light source is. And I'm going to say that our light source is, let's see, in the original picture, the light source is here, but I want to place it right about here. Maybe. I don't know, I haven't decided yet, but whatever. I'm drawing the dark on the left side. Seems like where I want to go, especially since we did the dark on the mountain. Maybe we'll put it over here. Actually, since I've done this rowboat quite a bit, I might put the rowboat on the opposite side. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put the rowboat on the opposite side. So if you're using the reference drawing, please note that I'm going to be changing the direction of the rowboat. And I'm going to be putting on the left. I have done this particular lesson plan about 5 times. So changing it up seems appropriate. Seems appropriate. Okay. Now at this point, I guess, yeah, we can start doing a little bit on the right side because our focal point is going to be right about here. I mean, not focal point, but like our light source. Sorry. I'm just making stuff up at this point. Okay. Well, we've got all that. Now, we're going to darken our horizon line just a little bit. Again, remember, don't move your wrist, move your entire arm. And then I'm just going to come in here and just kind of, I'm coloring it in. I'm doing it with the same circles I did in the trees, but I'm not trying very hard. Like, I'm not trying to make it look any certain way. We're going to come in and do something with our eraser here shortly that's going to kind of scuff it up a little anyway. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my kneaded eraser, but you can use any eraser. And I'm going to come in and just dab at certain areas. Not all of it, just certain. I'm going to do this in the trees too, a little bit. That just gives it some choppiness. Okay. Still using our 6B. Now, this is where I would use my graphite stick because it's going to make it a lot easier. But I want you guys to see. So I'm just doing straight lines all the way across. Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like with the graphite stick, just so you have an idea. So you can see it kind of fills in, and if you use the side, it does these like choppy things where like the top and the bottom lay darker lines. I'm gonna come back to the pencil. Oh, well, hang on. Because I started with the graphite stick, so I can't end over here on this side. I need to let it. Let it go off the page a little bit. There we go. Okay. So just straight lines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser and do the same thing, just straight lines back and forth. And this was going to do a couple of things. One is going to erase out some lines, but it's also going to do like a weird blending thing. See how it's like blending certain areas? Just makes it look more interesting. And of course you're going to be catching little eraser bits as you do this. All right. I feel like my desk always has like little eraser shavings everywhere. All right. So see how it's got this weird kind of, you know, uneven look about it. That's what we want. All right. So first what we're going to do is take our 2B, well, let's take our spreader or finger. I'm going to use my spreader on this side and like kind of spread some of this in. If you don't have a spreader for the sky, the best thing to do is to lightly go over with a pencil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make some cloud areas by basically not using the spreader in those areas. Now because my spreader's dirty, it makes that a little bit easier. I'm just letting it be kind of choppy in the sky. Some areas are going to be darker than others. And I'm trying to do some cloud shapes by just, like I said, just not shading in those areas. I'm going to use the side of my spreader and spread all this in. Oops, I'm knocking paint over here. All right, now for the sun, so we said we were going to put it over here. So first I'm going to just gently draw where it is I want it. I'm going to erase out, and then I'm going to spread around it. It's a little bit of a cheat, I suppose. But you want edges. So there's a difference between edges and lines. Edges are when you go right up to an object but don't actually draw the object. That's kind of what we were doing with the clouds and also what we were doing with the tree trunks here. So I'm going to erase out this area again. There. So that gives us like a sun, but it's not too much. All right, back to our 2B pencil. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to start by very lightly drawing the line where we want our rowboat to go. So let's see. We're going to put it this way. It's going to be facing that direction. So first what I'm going to do is make the back then I'm going to do 2 arced lines going forward. Don't worry if they're not perfect. We're going to actually be erasing out. So this is going to come down. Let's see. So let's just erase out this area. Maybe I want my boat to come a little bit more forward. There we go. All right, one more, sorry. Okay, so let's do, first, let's see. All right, we're gonna have our back area, it's gonna come down at an angle, maybe even more of an angle. And then it angles down a little bit. Now the angle of the top part of it is going to match this angle. Okay. Now we've got our point up here. You can kind of make a little mark of where your point is. And then you just curve that around to meet that point. This is going to do the same thing. Now, and I think I didn't maybe erase out enough. This is going to come down and scoop around like that. Let's erase that out. Something's not right here. Hold on. What is not right? Something like proportionally I'm not getting. There we go. So let's bring this a little bit more to the right. So this is our line comes kind of straight down, maybe even curves in a little bit, and then scoops back. I see what I did. I see what I did. All right. There we go. I just didn't come far enough. Now, let's see. I want to fudge my lines here because I don't want them to. This is the one thing about trying to do mirror images of things, is you get a little bit off sometimes. It happens. All right, so this comes here. then this is going to scoop up. Am I still doing it? I'm still doing it. All right. There we go. I don't know why I struggled with that so much, but whatever. It is what it is. Okay. So on the inside of the boat, so first of all, we're going to do like a little rim that follows exactly parallel to that line. It's going to go all the way to the front, and it's going to come back on the top of the other side. Then we're going to have some lines. Let's see, we'll have a little, it's going to go across here. That's our, like the front of the boat. Now, we're going to have our benches in the boat, so let's see. First, let's go ahead and draw a line going to the front. So that's like the inside of the boat, right? The seats are going to go to about halfway. So I'm going to do kind of a slanted like that. It's like a slanted rectangle. And then we'll do another one closer to the back. And you can erase out the lines from the boat. All right. So we've got all of our lines drawn in there. Now, let's see. We're going to create a mirror reflection of our tree line. So we're going to come back to the boat. We'll come back to the boat here in a little bit. But let's create a mirror reflection of our tree line. So very lightly with your pencil, start to kind of copy generally the shape of, and you're doing the exact opposite. So if it goes up, you go down. So it goes down, so I go up. And it doesn't have to be exact, as long as you get the idea. Oops. Okay. And then what we're going to do is going kind of close to the shoreline, but not all the way. We're just going to fill this in with our either number 2 or 2B pencil. We're not going all the way to the shore though. And it's okay if the lines aren't exact, because think about it, you know, your water might be moving a little bit. So as long as it's pretty close, you're fine. You don't have to stay 100% in the lines. I am adding a boat. So yes, I would. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well tonight. So yes, this is, or did you mean, was I adding a floating body, like an actual body in the lake? No. I thought you meant the body of the boat. No, we will not be adding a floating body. Sorry. Took me a second there to get that. I missed that. Oh man. It's been a long day. But yeah, this is not a dumping grounds lake for dead bodies. So there will not be any of those. Now, if you have a spreader or if you want to use your finger, you can come in and just spread this area. And I'm just going to spread right across it, and that blends it with the water so that it's going to look more like just a mirror reflection rather than like actual trees in the water. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and add, let's see. All right, let's go ahead and add our slats in our boat. I want to do this. So I'm using my 2B pencil. You can use your number 2 pencil, it's fine. So we're going to do a couple of things. First, we are going to add the reflection of the boat in the water. Let's see, this is going to come out a little bit at an angle. And I'm going to do my best to try to keep my lines horizontal. Now I did go over to the side of the boat a little bit, so you can always just bring your eraser, just clean up those lines. You can use your spreader. You can come in and spread into the water around it, which makes it just like we did with the reflection up there. It just kind of makes it more blended, more natural and organic looking. Okay. Now we're going to also do some ripples in the water. So just following the edge of the boat, and it doesn't have to be all the way, like you don't have to, like I skipped a little place there. And on the other side of the boat, it's going to actually curl around. So we'll have like a rounded ripple area. Let's see, we'll do a larger. I'm just going in and doing a little bit more of my reflection in the water. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some shading in the boat. Now in the front here, let's see, there's a little line there, because this would be like a board. So in the front here, it's going to be pretty dark right underneath, and then you're going to loosen up on your shading. So you just lighten your pressure a little bit. Now the floor of the boat is going to be dark. I'm going to guess that it's just, you know, the kind of wood that was used or something, or it's painted. We're just going to make the floor of the boat dark though. Alright, now I'm going to use my spreader and just kind of spread all of that around so that it's nice and even. Again, you can use your finger, or a piece of wadded up paper would work for this as well. The area right next to the boat is going to be pretty dark. So I'm just darkening that up a little bit. All right, now let's get our lines in the boat. So on this side, you're just going to have parallel lines that fade into the front area. And they should be consistent all the way down. All right, and this will be lightly shaded in, not much, but just lighter than the top. We want the top to have a little bit of light on it. So just lightly shade that in. We're going to do the same thing coming from the front. Now this line at the bottom is going to kind of disappear. And again, we're going to do something similar, just lightly shade it. Except for the top. Now my top somehow got filled in a little bit. So I'm going to use my kneaded eraser. And just come in right at that top line just to clean it up just a little bit. There we go. All right, let's get our lines in the back. So it's just straight across. Okay. And just lightly shade. This is going to be slightly darker because it's facing away from the sun. But we still want that top to be light. So I'm going to get my kneaded eraser again and very gently go over the top. Like that. Actually need to fill this in just a little bit more. There we go. My boat is a little wonky, but that's okay. Yeah, you know, it happens. Now, for some finishing touches, we're going to have a little line that comes down. It's like a curved line. And it will have a little bob at the end. And then we're going to have, so what we'll do for the cattails, because we're going to have some cattails, is we're going to do some little jagged lines. So let's do a couple. Let's do some here. So we're just doing some squigglies. So just do a couple little squigglies like that. Squigglies. Let's see. Do a little squiggly here. Maybe one right here. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some lines that come up from those squigglies. Some of the lines are going to be, they're going to come up and then scoop back down. Let's come over here and let's do a couple over here. All right. So let's go ahead and do little, right at the end of some of these, not all of them. Some of them are just going to be little grasses. We're going to do some cattails. They're just little ovals. In fact, these I probably made a little bit too circular. That's all right. That's all right. Let's see, I'm going to do... okay, so for these other little areas that I did, we're going to do just grasses. Now, we want the reflection in the water, so we're just going to lightly do the same grasses below it. Let's see, we'll do the same up here. This was a grass. Like that. And the same grasses below it. And these will also have some little like that. All right. We're done. So let's take a look. I like to do critiques at the end of my lessons and take a look at like what I could work on, what I think is effective and is working already in the drawing. So taking a look at this, let's take a look at the reference drawing. So this is the reference drawing. Now remember, I did on different side. Now, the reason that this looks darker here, this is considerably darker than it is here. The reason that is because I wanted to use a 2B pencil throughout most of it so that you could see what it was like to do a number 2. If I used a number 2 pencil because of the lighting, you can see how stark the lighting is, it wouldn't actually show up very well. So that's why I used a 2B rather than like the lead pencil, which would be darker. If we wanted to, we could darken up some areas just by pressing a little harder. I don't think it's necessary. I like it the way it is. But, you know, if you wanted to, you could do that. Generally, I think that I was successful. Now, remember we switched the boat to the other side. So that kind of complicated things, right? Because I had trouble with the proportions. I still think the proportions are slightly off. However, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I actually think it looks pretty good like this. So I'm going to call it good. Now, don't forget to sign your work. I always sign mine in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you would like to, if you follow this, whether you watch this on YouTube, I don't know why my light is so bright. I apologize for that. There we go. You can see, actually see me a little bit better. If you are following this on YouTube or you're watching the VOD on Twitch, then I encourage you to if you do the drawing, you can go to my Discord server and you can actually upload a drawing, and we can critique it, just like I critiqued mine, where I looked at some of the things that needed some work. What I think is probably most effective in this is the trees and the mountains. I actually really, really dig those. Maybe even better than my original. But like I said, the proportions in the boat need some work, and I could go back in and work on that. I could fix that, touch it up a little bit. But overall, I think this was successful. So like I said, if you want to share yours, please do. I always get all notifications for anytime anybody uploads something. So as soon as you upload, I will know and I can come take a look at it. Thank you so much for joining my stream tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will be doing a watercolor tomorrow it's going to be a boat, but it's not going to be up close like this. It's going to be off in the distance. It's more of a landscape than this, we'll see the boat will be tiny kind of in the background. But that is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So if you'd like to join me for that, then fantastic. Otherwise, I will be here next week, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and I look forward to seeing you. Have a fantastic night.